And we're off. I haven't used this technology in a while, so I hope I can still control it. Um, so this is entitled Back in the Day, and I'm old, so the old days are about all I can talk about these days. So this is about when I was you. I graduated from Scranton in '71. Most of this will deal with back then, so you can know what campus was like back then, and then we will zip very quickly to the present. This is my homepage. If you haven't visited it, it focuses heavily on evolution, something that wasn't discussed when I was an undergrad or much in grad school. But it's very important to me now, but not very important to this talk. So there we go. I'm standing on the second floor of what was the Student Union, which is now green space. We're looking across Linden Street at the main entrance to St. Thomas Hall, the center of campus. Try to imagine having cars running through it constantly. And there we are, virtually all boys, because that's what we were. We were an all male campus until I think the year after I left campus. So that's looking down on the first floor at people looking at the street, probably hoping women will go by. That's a late breaking picture of the student union. It was pretty attractive. It was a good building, um, but it's now a green space. There's looking down Linden Street. Um, if you can see my pointer, this ornate building here, that's where the McDade Center is right now. Um, Behind this fence is a paved area where we played tennis and did our military drills, which will be discussed more later. There used to be a gas station here. That was before my time. And boy, that's a classic right there. That's a 64 Chevy. Um, yep. And down into Central City. That's now City Market. Before that, it was Farley's, which we'll see some pictures of before. That's where I bought my first decorations for Christmas. Up here, where it says Scranton, we demolished that building. Highland Hall is there now. This is a picture from my yearbook looking up um, Linden Street. I circled those signs because if you're familiar at all with the office, um, at least one of those signs, not literally those signs, but those type of signs show up in the opening credits. There's Old Loyola, which is now flattened in a green space. The psych department was in the basement. You can see we had an antenna on the top. We had an FM station. There's an interesting story there, but there's no way to go through it. This is the view from the main entrance to Loyola Hall. There's that ornate building. That's where McDade would be. There's where we marched. Um, and then there's, Linden Street, which was a legitimate street back in the day. I'm throwing this in mostly because it's from the student newspaper, and I was very amused that they were heavily promoting tobacco back in the day. This is before my time. This is when Loyola was dedicated. There's Loyola going down. That was a rough summer. They didn't bother very much at all with dust control, and oh man, uh, I absorbed a lot of toxins. I bet there was asbestos in there. And there's where you guys now live. That was the library back in my day. Um, it's a Nice solid building. I find the stairs between the first floor and the second floor too narrow, but what can I do? There's the chair of the psych department when I was there, Dr. Lennon, whose picture is on second floor AMH. Remember, we were in the basement. That's me in the middle. I had that Amish look. I couldn't grow a mustache, so I didn't have one. We were pretending to use a piece of equipment that we never used because it depended on this stuff called film, which is based on silver, and it was very expensive, and we never used it. We're also inside a 10 by 10 sound attenuated chamber. That thing must have cost a fortune. The department doesn't have it anymore. And there I am, happily going off to grad school in 1971 with a couple of my peers. Those pants were handmade, by the way, a little hard on the eyes. This was on my mind a lot in grad school or in as an undergraduate and beyond. Back then, all males, when they hit 18, had to register for the draft, which of course I did because I'm prone to obeying the law. And what still chills me is we were involved in the Vietnam War. There's North and South Vietnam. This next picture is very disturbing. So there we are, upper left, landing to deal with Viet Cong. Lower right, that was the end. We did not win that war. There they are coming in to take over the last remnants of the part of the country that we controlled. That was pretty real. This movie, I think I saw in high school. It was supposed to convince us that we should get over to Vietnam and clean it up. But I'll tell you, the movie did not have that effect on me. This is the draft lottery, which is why I'm still freaked out by lotteries. Each of those balls contains a number for your birth date, 1 through 366. And my ball was in there. Boy, I stayed up to watch that night. And the good news for me is there's the results. I got the higher the number, the better. I got a very good number, 245. So I knew I wasn't going. Plus, they gave deferments for being in college. The next year, I only got a 91. I still would have had a deferment, but 91 would have gone. Now take a look at these soldiers. This is your Army Reserve, and those weapons we'll see in a second. And who are they fighting? So who did they kill? Oops, this may be bad. Why they were killing us. Um, so the Army National Guard took their weapons and fired at those very threatening people in that picture and killed 4 of them. I'm surprised they only killed 4. This is what we did on our campus. That's Linden Street. Sitting there blocking traffic was a death wish, but nobody got killed. There's one faculty in that picture as well. There's looking down Linden Street with some angry locals. Again, nobody got killed, surprisingly. This is from my yearbook. This is the picture after Kent State, and that arrowed human in the bottom, that's me. I wrote a very stern petition, which people were signing, and then it disappeared. And I kind of think the local FBI agent office snagged it. This is in my yearbook too, and it's surprising it's there. If you look for a while, you may see why it's surprising. I didn't go to this peace march, but people from campus did go. That's the reflecting pool. Um, Back in those days, the gym was just being built, and allegedly because we had no gym and no physical education, we had to spend at least 2 years in the reserve officer training corps. After 2 years, you could sign up for real, which I did not do. Um, this is what we started training with. It's an M1, which was used in World War II and Korea. There was a rifle range in the basement of the student center. They later replaced it with pinball machines. Um, that's an M1. And I was really good at taking that apart and putting it back together. 8-shot clips. I never got to touch this, which is an M16. If you stayed in until your junior year, you got to play with these. If you could read that manual down below, but apparently M16's jammed a lot, and that's not apparently. And there's someone in the mud and gunk in Vietnam trying to clean the M16, or you die. Uh, this is what we fought against, AK-47s. There's the other side with an AK-47 on the left. And there, actually, while I was in college, that's a U.S. Marine who's snagged an AK-47 during a battle because he didn't want his gun to jam. This human went to Vietnam. He later became chair of the biology department at the University of Scranton, Dr. Carey to you. And there he is arriving in Vietnam on the right. Lots of sandbags. Then I went to grad school. And while I was in grad school, you heard in that song reference to Nixon. Nixon was the president at the time, who, by the way, put together a commission to decide what to do about legalizing marijuana. And the commission clearly indicated that it should be legalized, and therefore Nixon did the opposite because he liked being able to imprison hippies and other minorities. His vice president had to quit while I was in grad school because he had been involved in taking bribes when he was governor of Maryland. But yeah, he didn't have to go to jail. They worked that out as he resigned. He came to my campus in Maine, and boy, was that a deal. He was a big fan of the Vietnam War. We were not. Then Nixon resigned because he abused power, and they were going to impeach him, and they were going to probably convict him. So he just resigned, but no worries. His vice president, who he picked to replace Agnew, who became president, pardoned him for everything he had done. We had our own pandemic, we thought, and he rushed a vaccine into the middle of it, which didn't work out so well, and they had to stop giving it. That's my dissertation, explaining also why I'm not an artist. And if you look at the printing below the picture, that's typing. Everything was done with typewriters, and the main campus would now not allow any corrections. Any mistake on a page, you had to retype the entire page. And there's my office at UCLA. The Environmental Protection Agency had just begun functioning. You could feel the air in Los Angeles. It burned to breathe. It was a mess. That's the view out the front. That was not a mess. I spent my summers standing in that little moat. I used the seating area as a desk, and I just stayed out there all day. This is some stuff we did at UCLA. Opioid and non-opioid. The non-opioid is endocannabinoid, which I'm a big fan of, cannabinoids. This is my going away party. If you've had behavioral neuroscience. You may have had a book written by Dr. Breedlove. That's him over on the right. This was the faculty at Scranton just before I got there. I replaced this little guy over here feeding chicks because he wanted to go into research as I was getting out of it. We were in O'Hara Hall, second floor, all of it. It was a pretty good department set up. There's one of the two animal rooms. There's a microscope shop area. This is how we did the sheep brain before we made the sheep brain dissection guide. There's stereotaxics in there. Students actually did stereotactic surgery with rats. There's my office. I liked plants. We had Christmas parties, even for the rats. Happy Christmas party. This is a going away party for the person that Dr. Norcross replaced, Dr. Hetherington. There's Dr. Hetherington there in the overalls. And this is 1 year graduates. There's a few faculty there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of us, and everybody else was going into a doctoral program. They were doing really well until I showed up. And there's a new face. I think that was Dr. Norcross's first public appearance on campus. And there he is in the first team photo, campus photo. Dr. O'Malley hasn't changed much. This is a party that congratulated Dr. Norcross not only for his son, but academic advancement. The curriculum then, research methods, was an optional course. We had experimental 1 and 2. Each had mandatory labs. One of them gave everybody their own rat to train. I really enjoyed that. We switched to research methods. Shortly thereafter, I took the labs. There's an early lab in the parking lot behind O'Hara Hall. There's later TAs in front of AMH. What have I done? Neuroscience program, faculty student research program, student faculty teacher mentorship program, Psi conference, about 27 years, research methods poster fest, neuroscience poster fest, kids in neuroscience, brain bee, neurosci, and a few attempts at neuroscience conferences. There's Dr. Norcross talking at a Psi conference. There's the 20th Psi conference. There's the young Dr. Orr. Literally that evening, Dr. Orr decided to start working in my lab. I was thrilled. It worked out really well. 20th anniversary of the conference. Oh, look, there's Dr. Burnham, who was faculty by this time. This is our 23rd conference in Brennan Hall. We were very highly organized. This is the 25th conference. People celebrating. Those are alumni and faculty who participate in the conference. There's Dr. Burnham at one of the poster fests for psychology. There's Dr. Orr giving a talk at one of the neuroscience conferences that we tried. There's Kids Judge Neuroscience. That's the winning team, and they're getting Girl Scout cookies. Very exciting. And there's the 10th annual Brain Bee, which was 2009. A lot of brain bees. This is a neurosci induction. There's the current faculty. Jean-Luc there in the back. Maybe that's supposed to be me. And I apologize to faces in that picture that I didn't discuss. And Dr. Karpiak did show up in an earlier picture. I'm sorry. And that's it. I've had a good time. The talk was pretty fun. And thank you. I hope you enjoyed.